Welcome to the National Real Estate Network video training program. This video is part of a series designed to help beginning and experienced real estate investors with the different aspects of purchasing and investing in properties. Be sure to click become a member at 27monthlymeetup.com.
That I didn't have would be there, and I had houses that you ever watch the movie Home Alone? So I had like timers on the radio that would come on, talk radio, nice and loud. So, and I'd also have them on the lights that would come on and off at certain hours. So that was kind of a poor man's approach to home security. If they were a house in a tougher area, then I always had, like Detroit, not in Pontiac, but in Detroit I was using, what are the things that you put there, like not storm doors, but you lock them, the gates, security gate on the thing, because if your furnace was going to be stolen, they're going to steal it from somebody that doesn't have security gates, because they got to. So I would have the security gates there. And then when I would also buy houses in a tougher area that I was rehabbing, then I would actually have the rehab crew, I would have somebody stay in the house. So they would actually be camped out there. And sometimes, this was a long time ago, so I don't know about today's market, I would actually write a lease with them. And the reason I did that is so I could get the proper insurance. So once the house was rehabbed, my lease might only be for $1 a month, but I had a tenant in the house. So I structured myself so that it was tenant occupied. What? Yeah, I would find contractors that had helpers that would live in the house. Okay. So, yeah, so if you follow, I was actually doing exactly what the insurance company wanted. But they had to have, like, you couldn't just let them sleep on the floor. I mean, we would have, it would be livable enough that they were kind of staged. Yeah. Well, that's good. So what Kim said for the people in here, he had a warehouse with furniture and stuff for staging. So. Okay, so living room, kitchen. So if it was a kitchen, then I was replacing the cabinets. At that point, I was doing Home Depot cabinets. If the cabinets are so high, then I would probably be on Craigslist looking to see what I could do if I was being incredibly frugal. But if I was doing a whole bunch of them, then I'd probably be back doing Home Depot type stuff. I'd put new subflooring in on the kitchen, and then I would put down the laminate, and I would tile it. If the bathrooms on like the Pontiac houses I was doing, if sometimes I would pay to have the tubs reglazed, and then sometimes I would replace it, but I was pretty frugal on how I did it. Then when I walk into the basement of the house, I would, if the basement walls leaked, then I'm going to disclose on my selling agreement the basement walls leaked, but I would put seal lock on everything so I could temporarily stop all leaking, so that even if the basement leaked, I could still, it looked good, and the walls were all white. And then I would use porch and deck paint, gray. I would paint my floors so that the basement had an incredibly nice, clean look to it. And when I sold any house I ever sold, even if I thought the basement didn't leak, I disclosed on the sell agreement that the basements leak, because I'd been sued so many times over leaky basements. So all basements in the state of Michigan leak, as far as I'm concerned. And I would disclose that the basement, that I bought this house, I even lived in the house, but the basement may leak. And then I would say I use seal lock on my walls. So you have to disclose. You can do cosmetic stuff to a house, but you got to, on your seller disclosure, you need to disclose everything there. So I had a nice clean look to the basement. So if I had an old box, electric box, I would swap it out. So it looked like new service there, and it was. If you were going to buy a house, I had a lot of houses I would go into that had, the two wires that went around the insulator. So then the house needed to be rewired. Some people would put a brand new box on, and the stuff that needed to be rewired couldn't be seen. So if they did that, they needed to disclose that that's what's on the walls. So basically, you wanted to make sure when somebody went in the house, it smelled good, with new carpet and stuff, and looked good. And but I could do a pretty reasonable rehab. I would take all the electrical outlets and put brand new plugs in and brand new covers, so that it had a nice clean look to it. So most of my buyers, when I went to sell their houses, were coming from the neighborhood. So we would canvass like within a 3-block radius, because parents wanted their kids to move back in close to them, and they would even help with the financing and stuff, or co-sign on stuff. So once the house was rehabbed, then we would work the neighborhood to bring people over to look at it. I was actually doing most of the door knocking at that time, because there was a certain kind of person I was looking for that was an owner of a home that had a kid that wanted to be in the neighborhood. So I would go chit-chat with everybody. So, but I could find most of my buyers that were pretty close. Ceiling fans I put in all the houses. All right, so let's keep going. So exit strategies. I do. We're gonna be done at 8, so maybe I'm gonna, let me.
You're okay, I just didn't know this is the place we want.
I'm gonna cruise right through it, because I'm almost to the end of all this stuff, and then I'm gonna bring Ken up, because he's somebody that's out doing this stuff, so I wanna, right now today, so I wanna have him speak for a minute, okay? And he's also, he's done stuff in Ann Arbor, but he's in a really good market, in the Toledo market, that he's learned and knows it backwards and forwards, so I'll let him share that. So he's getting some really good deals there. So my exit strategy was on find, fix, and flip is to absolutely get the house sold. If for some reason I couldn't get it sold, then I was structuring a rent to own. But my rent to own, or my lease options, were uniquely different, because remember, I've got a completely rehabbed property. I've got a parent that wants a child to move into it. They don't qualify for an FHA. So I'm going to structure a deal with them where I'm trying to put the parents on the hook. But really what I want to do is put the tenant at major risk. So now the house is all fixed up, and you say the house is worth $100,000. So I need a $10,000 non-refundable option consideration, 10% down. They don't have $10,000. So what you've had a mortgage person work with them, so you know what they are already qualified and what they can really pay, so that they do have, between the parents and them, they've got, say, $3,000. So you take the $3,000, and you need, and the market rent on that property, let's say, is $750. So now you're going to set the market rent on a lease at $750, a separate lease, and you're not going to collect a security deposit. So now we're going to stick that over there. But you're going to get all the money they've got that they don't get back. So now you're going to say, you've got, now we used $750 there, but you still have $2,250 left, $2,250 left. We're going to take that as non-refundable option consideration, but I need $10,000. So the remaining amount of that, we're gonna take in a promissory note from your parents, and you are gonna sign it, and you're gonna pay an extra $200 a month, because the mortgage person's told you they can afford that. Or they're gonna pay you $100 a month because the mortgage person's told you they can afford that. So you're gonna structure it so they're getting enough money down over a period of time. And they're also majorly at risk, because if they decide to walk away from the rental agreement, the way you've structured your option agreement is if they walk away, they lose their option consideration. So now you've got them on the hook for that $7,000. So you're either going to get your property back really clean, or you're in a much stronger position to negotiate with them. Even if you're going to wipe that note out, you're going to make sure the property comes back clean. Does everybody follow that? So now you're collecting the market rent plus the $200, just going towards that down payment. And now when they actually do achieve all that with the mortgage person, the way you structured it, then they can get the mortgage for it. So you're actually structuring a sale eventually. I'm going to do an all-day workshop on options, and like our mentoring group's already got it. You know, you guys, I sent it to you, so it's got the training in it and everything. And you got me to help you. So, but at that day when I do it, you'll get it. You know, so that's a couple months away. So. No, I mean, that's what I did on everything at the end. And now, how did I learn that? Was those 325 rental properties in the city of Pontiac. I had to get out of that. So now it's real easy to buy a lot of rental property. But when you decide to get rid of it, it's not so easy to get out of it, okay? And I wanted to get out at retail prices. I didn't want to, see, you got a rental property, your only exit strategy is to sell it to another investor. And Ken's not going to give me what I really want to get. I want to get retail price for it. So it means when the tenant vacates it, then I'm going to rehab it, and my objective is to get it sold. But let's say I don't get it sold, then I need to have an exit strategy to get it rented, but put them at risk. You have to have people at risk. So that's if you structure the lease option correctly, you can majorly put them at risk. So, and if they get the down payment at that point, even if you're doing it on paper, like a land contract or a private mortgage, they've legitimately put all that money down, and you can document it. So now you've got paper that's totally sellable at a low yield. Yeah. So yeah. No, they're not. So you have to. Correct. And you've collected market rent. This is all above the market rent. So it's all documentable. So that's. So Saturday, I'm going to do an all-day workshop. So like, I blew through this stuff way too fast. So I'm going to, like the subcontract agreements, all that stuff. I've got the attorney coming. I have an experienced person that does the rehabs on Pontiac, Detroit properties, those kinds of properties. So he's going to be here too, and he's an experienced investor. So he's going to be talking also. So that's, if anybody wants to sign up today, is $50. So that's, and we're going to go ahead with it. It might be a really small group based upon what showed up tonight. So, but it'll be a good day of learning. So that's, and if you do it, if you wait and come that day, it's, yeah, so people that are just coming, it's, so like it's a special price if you sign up tonight. So, and then if you're ever interested, we've got a mentoring program where we're doing personalized coaching on wholesaling. It's the same kind of stuff that people are paying $50,000 and $30,000 for, and it's a 6-month program. So during that 6-month program, we're teaching people how to do the wholesaling. We're actually buying the signs and going out. And if you guys don't want to manage your own signs, then we're going out ourselves and doing it with you, and then you can come in when you can. But if we're going to get involved and do that, then we're going to take part of the split, but you're going to learn how to do it. So and we get into doing like the all-day workshops, but then you've got access to us to walk you through and ask questions and help you structure your deals. So we're gonna do it's 6 months, and instead of if you pay it all up one time, it's like $1,200, or if you wanna do it monthly, it's $300 a month. So, and I don't want to have any more than like 5 or 6 people in it. We've got 2 right now, because it's more than I can deal with. My real passion is, it's like rental property, only it's, I'll show you guys at a later date. For like, Chris and I sell leads to like home improvement companies and to towing companies and to appliance repair companies. So so it's like we own real estate, but it's online. There's no toilets, no tenants, no nothing, and we collect money, and it's like the best compared to toilets and tenants, okay? So, but it has its own risks too. Like, it's a company called Google. If they want to change algorithms or do certain things can go south on you there too. But we've been doing it for a while. So anyway, these are the different things that you'll know how to do if you go through the mentoring program. That's basically it. It's a one-time cost of $1,200 or 6 months and $300 a month. And one of the things that we're looking for, if you do it, we're going to be pushing for, like, if we've done something with you, which one of the 2 people that are in the program, we've already got a couple of deals that are in the works. And, but we'll look at whatever you're doing, and we've got the MLS, and we'll do the comps. And if you're looking for a realtor that is willing to crank out those ridiculous offers and piss off other realtors, I've got a broker that'll do all that for you. And, so, because that's what we did. So we don't have a problem getting other realtors off. But actually, when I'm saying that, and I'm doing the tape, it's actually a service, because really what we're doing is making an offer based upon what the owner really wants to do, and then at a later date, we're a good solution for those guys. So, and, if you do a lot of that at a later date, then the realtors that know that you'll actually perform on what you've offered, then they'll bring deals to you that fit that criteria. So that's what we're offering. But what I'm going to let Ken. Do you have a PowerPoint that you wanted to do, or?
I don't.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Okay. So do you guys want to take a real quick break and then come back, or do you want to? Okay. We'll get started.
Specially made microphone.
Yeah, just put it around your neck. So everybody, this is Ken. It's Yamamoto, right? Okay. So here we go. Just stick it around your neck.
Okay. Yeah, record.
So it's
Okay.
recording.
Just like this? Good enough?
Yeah, that's pretty.
Okay. Well, who do we have in the room here? Do we got some new people who came here? Are these some of your mentors, or?
So,
Yeah.
Okay. Nice to meet y'all.
Christine, so licensed realtor.
appraiser too, right?
Okay. Cool. Well, as Mark said, my name's Ken Yamamoto, and I've been a real estate entrepreneur for many, many years. I started out just like you folks, working a corporate job and doing it part-time. And until I got to the point where I had enough properties where I felt I could go out on my own, and I did that 7 years ago. Left the corporate world and just been doing only real estate for the past 7 years. So I find it pretty satisfying doing that. And I don't know if that's your plan or not, or if you just want to do this on the side and supplement your income, or if you want to do it full time. But it's good either way. So actually, when I was working at the Unisys Corporation in Plymouth here, and Mark's been doing this a long time too, because I used to come to his seminars when I was working there. What was that, like 9-10 years ago? Pretty much just in the building just down the street here. And so learned a lot from those seminars used to do. After working my corporate job, coming here, checking the seminars out, networking, finally got enough confidence just to leave the corporate job and do it all on my own. So anyways, I wasn't sure what to expect, so I was thinking of briefly talking about the basics of real estate investing, but I'm not sure if what you got. Maybe I should just turn it over to you guys and see what you're interested in and go that route instead. I don't, what would you prefer? Do you have any specific areas of interest? Well, let's say, okay, let me just do the basics really quick here. So, I'll ask you, what are the 3 golden rules of real estate investing? Oh, okay, usually someone will pop up location, 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 right? But, okay, so it's worth repeating that a few times, but location is certainly number 1 rule. I'm going to say number 2 rule would be to buy low, sell high. And then number 3 rule, which Mark touched upon, would be have multiple exit strategies. So for real estate investing, if you want to invest conservatively and pretty much guaranteed to make money, follow those 3 golden rules. Now there's a ton of creative methods you can use that can even violate those rules, and you can make money at it, but if you want to be conservative and make money in the long term, stick to them golden rules. And I'm at the point now where I'm kind of trying to stick to that and not do so much creative stuff. I've done a lot of creative stuff in my career, and that's useful to know that kind of stuff for your exit strategies, but use it as keep it in your back pocket. Don't use it if you have to, unless you have to. And the reason I say that is because we live in a pretty volatile economy, and even our personal lives are constantly changing. You never know what's going to happen. So you just got to think about, what would I do if things don't work out quite the way I thought they would work out? You know, what happens if you get a divorce? What happens if the economy all of a sudden does a 180? Just got to have different strategies. So with that in mind, we're going to hit point number 1, which is location. So what area are you investing in right now?
I'm looking in the suburbs around
Livonia? Okay. So you actively got a project going in that area right now?
No.
No? Okay. Okay. I thought you had gotten one that you were working on right now, but you were mentioning something about pulling carpeting out of something.
It's my house I live in now.
Okay, so that's not an investment, that's just the house you're living in. Okay, gotcha. All right. Yeah. Well, certainly location is key. So I, for many years, invested in Washtenaw County, which basically was Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti area. And the reason I invested in, well, can we pull up my website? Okay. This is a website I've had forever. It's not updated or anything, but I use this website to attract investors, because obviously getting financing is key to keeping your real estate business going. But what I'm going to show you here is not so much the investor part, but an example of a deal here. So this is my typical deal that I'd be looking for in Ypsilanti. This house I bought for $20,000, put $12,000 in rehab into it, so I had 32 invested. I got an investor to finance this thing at 10%. That's my standard interest rate I pay all my investors. So by the time you add all the taxes, the interest rate I'm paying to my investor and everything, I had $525 a month in costs. But I was able to rent this out for $10.50 a month. So that's a net $525 per month. I consider that an excellent cash return. This was in 2009. So you can't do those kind of deals there anymore. But I was doing a lot of deals like that. That's why I was able to make a living off of real estate investing. So back to the thing about location. Can't do those kind of deals in Ypsi anymore. Can't buy them at the right. But the reason I was doing them in Ypsi is because, number one, you could get the properties that would, for the right price point, that would cash flow, or you'd be buying low, selling high. You could fix them up and resell them and sell them high and make a good return on that. The other reason was geographic location. It was close enough to where I lived so it could make it work. It doesn't work anymore, so I've been searching all around. This is why I'm in Toledo now. Toledo's an area where this model will still work. But you got to do your research. So what area is geographically convenient for you guys? You might have to drive an hour out of your way someplace, but I'm sure there are areas that'll work for you folks. But I know Michigan's pretty hot right now, so yeah. But it depends what you want to deal with. Some areas, some areas in Detroit and everything, you can make anything work creatively, but but buying in decent areas where you don't have to worry about certain things, crime rate and different things. If you want to avoid a lot of headaches, just try to stick to areas that are good locations. But, so anyways, now I'm in Toledo now because I can get these kind of deals, and with all the same benefits I had in Ypsi 8 years ago, and he had a benefit that Ohio is a landlord-friendly state. That's one thing that's different from Ohio to Michigan. Michigan is tenant-friendly. I mean that the state, the rules and everything are geared towards being more friendly to the landlords than they are to tenants, whereas in Michigan they're more geared towards the tenants than the landlords. There's pros and cons to both those things. Certainly having tough rules and inspections and everything that keeps the property levels up, which is a good thing for everyone. But at the same time, if a tenant knows that kind of stuff, they can take advantage of the system, and who gets burned by it's the landlord. So if you're a good, responsible landlord, which I am, I keep my properties in good shape and everything, then I'm going to want to be in a landlord-friendly area because I don't want to get stuck with negligence of my tenants. I don't want to get stuck with their repair bills. Because you got to have these things inspected for C of O occupancies, for city inspections and everything. If it doesn't pass code because the tenant put a hole through a screen or everything, they're not going to issue you that certificate to allow you to keep renting it until you pay for it. You can try to pass those costs on to your tenants, but the bottom line is if they don't have the money, you got a choice. You want to evict them, or you want to keep them in there and keep the cash flow coming in. So the money's going to come out of your pocket and stuff. So I just as soon not have to deal with that kind of stuff. If my tenants trash the house out, I don't want to be responsible for paying it. So I'm going to give them a nice clean house to begin with, but don't want to make those. So that's why I like Ohio, because they're not going to stick that bill on me. So that's the location aspect of it. Buying low and selling high. Where do I want to go with there? You got to determine what your profit margins are, or what your goal is. And I know this is a fix and flip seminar, but in order to buy low and sell high, you've got to be flexible and keep your options open. That's why you're going to have to consider renting at some point, because renting gives you the option to, if the economy turns around and you can't sell it for as high as you thought you could, you're going to have to hold on to it because the market always changes. You may have to hold on to it till that next cycle comes where it's high again. There's your chance to unload it then. But if you don't keep that flexibility in place, then you may have to buy low and sell low, or buy low and sell even lower, depending on what the economy does. So just want to throw that bug in your ear, because that's part of the equation to buying low and selling high, is timing the market correctly. And the only control you have over that is to possibly rent it out if things don't work out the way you had planned. So my model for Toledo is I'm doing fix and flip right now, and I want to make a minimum of $40,000 on a deal, or it's not worth my time to go into it. So for that type of a model, I can find homes, invest $70,000 to $100,000, and then flip it for maybe 140. After all my costs are involved, I usually get 40,000 out of them. So I've actually got 2 properties right now that I'm working on that type of a deal right now. So, yeah. Mhm. That's true. I structure my deals usually a 3 to 5 year time commitment. Most of my investors, if you look up here, I'm an expert at getting monies from people's self-directed IRAs, converting their 401ks to self-directed IRAs, and people are usually pretty happy with a 10% return these days. And not only is it a 10% return, it's a 10% return that's secured by property, like this property here. My investor had $32,000 into this property, and it was worth at least twice that amount. His investment was rock solid covered with equity. If I defaulted on that, he'd be happy to take that property back because it's worth twice what he's got into it. Not only that, I secure all my investors' notes with a first lien mortgage on there. I register it at the county. They're protected. They got a first lien. I name them as a first insured on any insurance policy I have. If the house burns down, they get paid off before anybody else gets paid off. I do everything to protect my investors. Not only is it the right thing to do, my investors keep coming back because they know that Ken always pays on time. He covers my investment rock solid, and I'm getting a great return. It's like they can't do any better anyplace else, especially not in the stock market. That's all over the place. But if they're going to get that kind of return, their risk factor is significant. And in the stock market, what control do you have over what happens? You know, if the market crashes, you have no control. You've lost the money. But if the market crashes in real estate, you just rent it out until the market turns around again and you get your money back. So that's why I like real estate. And I encourage my investors to invest with me because their investment's protected. So that's my model on how I do things. But I could answer whatever questions you folks may have regarding specifics you have. Yeah. I jumped into assisted living at one point. That was a tough business. It took me about 5 years to get to the break-even point, and I was starting to make a profit on it. Then I had some personal circumstances that forced me to liquidate the business. But it's not a business that I particularly enjoyed that much, so kind of sorry I jumped into it. Well, actually, I got into it as an offspring of real estate investing. I knew nothing about assisted living. I was planning on converting my rental homes into assisted living and having somebody else manage the assisted living business part of it. Well, so I went in a partnership that way. Unfortunately, the partner I went into didn't do their job on the assisted living thing the way I felt was proper. So, because I'm the one who had all the property invested into it, I was on the hook. Because now I had all these homes and I had somebody who wasn't managing the assisted living part of it, so I kind of jumped into running that part of the business, which distracted me from the actual real estate part of it. So that was a bit of a distraction off there. But anyways, I learned a lot about marketing doing that business. So, but anyways, I'm out of that business now. Too hard of a business. I'd rather stick to the real estate part that I'm more passionate about. Yeah. Yeah, these are residential homes. I was converting them for assisted living. You know, I was specifically targeting veterans. I'd take my homes, I'd set them up for a package where I'd send caregivers out there to take care of the veterans and folks that were living in the homes. And take care of all the maintenance, have caregivers come out there, and they'd have the home to live in and everything, make them handicap accessible. But, yeah, that's a whole lot of a different area. Then I had group homes as well. So that's my endeavor into commercial stuff. I've done some property management where we're managing apartment buildings as well. But well, from experience, if I'm going to get into investing in apartment buildings, it's got to be large enough to support on-site property management. These little 4-unit guys aren't worth, they're a hassle. And duplexes, I hate duplexes. Stay away from them like mad. But duplexes, because you're getting involved with the tenant drama. The upstairs unit is being too noisy and this, and it's like, I don't want to get involved with that. But in an apartment, they expect, they're used to that kind of stuff. You know, and plus you had the on-site property management deal with all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll second that. I had 42 units, 4 units. When I exited out of this business, I was taking 4 units, converting that to single family. Because I could sell huge bedrooms. So I was like, I could do way better than whatever single family. So I like second that. That like, those to me, like, they make me crazy.
But yeah, like, I'm thinking 50 units, 100 units minimum if you're going to do multifamily.
I had a 25 unit with barely secluded on property management, and that was a nightmare too. I totally agree with everything you're saying. But you don't know until you go experience it. So that's the more expensive seminar, where you can talk, listen to somebody that has already paid the price for the experience seminar. Just stay with it.
So for a house like this one, when you rent it out, did you use a property manager? Or did you manage it yourself?
No, I managed all my own properties. But I had my own on-site crew and stuff, so I could send maintenance and stuff out there to fix things. Plus, part of my strategy on this thing was rent to own. And I structured a lot of these deals so that for the piddly stuff, that the tenants were responsible for that, because they were supposed to be treating these like their own homes. Another exit strategy is land contract. I like land contracts too, because it is their home. If the furnace goes on it, you're not legally on the hook to replace that furnace. On a rent to own, you still are. But not the little stuff. The little stuff you can have the tenants take care of. But furnace goes out, you still have to replace that furnace. Yes. I would not go messing with the structure that's in there already. If they were 1-unit efficiencies or 1-bedroom apartments, I'd keep them that way. Knocking a wall out, all of a sudden you're reducing the amount of units you have to rent out. And I don't know structurally what the building was designed for. You got to deal with all kinds of engineering stuff and load-bearing walls and stuff, so I wouldn't be messing with something like that. A unit that's that large that's been vacant for 12 years, I'd be very leery to jump into that, because obviously it's been vandalized, severe deferred maintenance and all kinds of stuff. I've looked at a lot of properties like that in Toledo, and I don't want to get into that kind of a unknown cost. There's big costs involved with that. I prefer to do cosmetic with one significant thing wrong. That's my perfect property. I don't like the major rehabs. I've done those. I'm a licensed builder. I've done major rehabs. You know, time is money. I'd rather get that property flipped back on the market within 1 month rather than have to spend 3 months rehabbing it. So cosmetic is great, but with one major thing wrong with it that makes it so your average homeowner doesn't want to deal with it. That's when you get your best deals.
What would be an example of one major thing?
Well, let's say cosmetic, but needs a new roof. Cosmetic, but needs a new furnace. Something major that's going to cost some bucks to put into it that the homeowner doesn't want to deal with. But if it's just painting and stuff where the homeowner says, oh, I can buy that and get conventional financing and paint it myself. But if it needs something major like that, they're going to have to take it a step further and get a rehab loan or whatever on the thing. Most homeowners, they just want a house that doesn't have anything major wrong with it. And that's where you jump into a home that has a better market for an investor like me. Because I can't compete against you if you want to buy this for your own primary residence. Well, I'm going to go back to my original statement is that there's too much unknowns involved with that. And there's a whole lot of upfront costs that you're going to have to kick out of your pocket in order to take some of those risks out. You're going to have a whole lot of inspections, a whole lot of quotes, and those quotes aren't going to be all that accurate on a big job like that. You know, if you get someone who comes in here and says the electrical is all going to have to be updated, to get an accurate quote's going to be tricky, because until they get into it, they don't know what they're going to find. So, yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Well, not to mention bringing that up to current code. When you start touching anything on there, current code is expensive, and lead-based paint abatement and any other environmental hazards you got there, it's like, I don't want to deal with that. If you do it wrong, the penalties are staggering. So.
It's a full-time job.
I'm not saying that there's not good reason for rehabbing something like that, because, you know, affordable housing is important, but the government's going to have to make an awfully sweet deal to make me take that kind of risk. So, all right, well, that's all I can think of. I mean, you have my personal opinion. Yeah. So, anyways,
Well, I'm not the personal side, but basically, you basically,
well, okay.
real estate parties, real estate parties.
Well, as Chris said, I've had to start over again. And that's one thing with being a real estate investor and taking major risks, is that I think even Mark admitted to it, he had to start over again.
Oh, yeah.
I've had to start over again too. I went through the big housing crash. That knocked me down, knocked down a lot of investors. But the one thing about it is that with all the knowledge that Mark and I have, we just start over again. We start over again much, much faster. We get back to where we were. So.
We found a place in the world which is not about, which is not the seller's market.
Yeah.
Actually, and ours is not the buyer's market. It's, they'll help get something cheap.
True. Well, okay, so that's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so I basically got wiped out for personal reasons. Divorce, I'll admit what it was. Basically, didn't have any money at the time, but all I had is my skills. So I got a house in Ann Arbor in a nice location, got a deal on it because I knew what I was looking for. The house they had it on the market for $135. I offered $145 cash, no contingencies whatsoever. Got beat out by a higher price, and remember they were offering $135, asking $135 for it. Someone beat me out for that, but they didn't take their offer; they took mine because I had no contingencies. Because I knew what the other offer. You know, they said, "Well, I got this contingency," because they didn't know. You know, they were not experienced. I could walk through a house in 20 minutes and look through the house for 20 minutes and know exactly what I need to, what the house is going to sell for, what it's going to be worth, what the ARV is, what's wrong with it, everything like that. So I can, with the experience, put an offer in with confidence and know what it's going to be and don't have to put contingencies in it. So they took my offer because of that. So then you ask, where did I get the... Well, since I've been investing in real estate a long time, I know how to get investor financing. So, private investors. I mean,
You didn't have a job, did you?
didn't have a job, didn't have anything at the moment. But I have my reputation, I have my knowledge, and I know a lot of people. I've done business with a lot of people, made a lot of people a lot of money, and when I ask them for money, they'll give it to me because they know what I can do. So when I see that really great deal, they usually will trust me on it because they went in on that great deal. So I financed this deal by getting a private investor. 6 months later, I got a conventional mortgage on the house. I paid off my private investor. Yesterday, I got a home equity loan on that house, and I got another chunk of change to put into another investment. Buying 2 houses in Toledo, starting over again. And those houses are going to make 40 grand each.
What kind of condition was the house when you first moved in?
It was trashed out.
Did it have plumbing?
It had plumbing. It didn't have the mechanicals working. It wasn't the type of house that I prefer to do a rehab on, but I couldn't be picky. It was the type of house I wanted, and I knew the numbers on it would work. It was pretty trashed out, big time. But I've done complete renovations, totally down to the studs, so nothing phases me. I can do it, but I prefer not to do it if I don't have to. But Ann Arbor is a tough market. You don't have tons of deals floating your way all the time, like in Toledo. Toledo, I can be a little bit more picky on what I want to get.
I wanted to try to do this in real estate. It's all parameters you can work with. So Ken had no job, got investors to pay for a house, rehab the house. I won't say how much equity he got, he was able to pull up equity enough to pay himself and pay off his investments.
And now I go back to the pot a second time in that equity, and now I've got a line of credit to buy more income generating properties. Yeah. So that's a good deal. My previous job, I was making very good money. And the answer is no. I'm not willing to go back to that corporate environment. Because, yeah, very good money is one thing, but freedom to do what I want, to enjoy a beautiful day like today, to set my own schedule, that's worth more to me. And the income potential on this is humongous. And I'll get there real soon, or I'll tenfold the money I was making in the corporate job in not too long.
How many properties did you have before?
I don't know how many properties I had because that's not a definitive answer to answer because I have deals, partnership deals, and all kinds of, I have pieces of properties all over the place. But, and also, yeah, I had,
Just answer my question. He was doing pretty well.
yeah. I have an accountant and everything, but basically I keep track of everything myself. I do have partners on different things and consult with them on various things, but I have accountants to look everything over again, you know, to make sure I'm doing things correctly.
Don't run overnight.
I've got other professionals. You got to have your team of people that.
So you wanna, so you wanna look for attorneys that are, would go to the RIA meetings and stuff, or, yeah, which
You want to pick them?
Pick up everybody. So, to answer your question, you want to go to like the RIA meetings and find real estate attorneys that deal with a lot of investors and understand what his objectives are, or what my objectives are. Like, and I'm not recommending the guy we've got here Saturday, but he's somebody that understands an investor's perspective and is going to structure deals to protect the investor. And you want to find a CPA that knows what they're doing, but understands rental properties and stuff. So I don't know if I'm really answering it, but yeah, you do want to put a team together, but you need to find the right people. And I think you'll find them by going to the investor meetings.
So,
What kind
you
of
said
team?
core team, so,
Yeah, like.
first of all, you want a realtor that I'm gonna call your preferred realtor.
Okay.
But I told my realtor, you're my preferred realtor. That doesn't mean I use you for everything. Because some deals, you go directly to the listing agent on them. That's just how it works. The listing agent's gonna get you the best deal when they're getting a double commission on that. But my preferred realtor, she gets all, when I resell something, she gets all those. And she's happy with that, and she knows that I make offers on other realtors. If I can put the offer in through her, I will do that. Because she knows how I work everything, she's got all the forms and everything. I have a preferred title company I use. And believe me, that title company is key. Because when you're doing this in bulk, you run into all kinds of issues. And you need favors from that title company all the time, because there's always a glitch that happens. And when you do bulk business with them, you've got to know the owner of that title company and ask them questions. Even yesterday, the owner of the company was on vacation they had a personal death in the family, and they still answered my question. They weren't even in the office. They got the documents I needed, everything, because I have a personal relationship with them, and we do a lot of business.
So like on his preferred realtor that he's talking about, I don't know who it is, so he could be cranking offers out all the time, but if the property's a foreclosure, he knows that he needs to go directly to the person, the realtor that's handling the foreclosure, because they've got their own investors that they're gonna sell it to. So he's gotta develop a relationship with that guy to get the good deal. Do you follow me?
Have you heard the term pocket listings before? They're supposed to be illegal, but you can't enforce a pocket listing very well.
But, okay, so I'm an REO agent, I got it listed. Ken's realtor comes to me and makes an offer. Now I've got to split the commission with his realtor, but I've got investors. Now I've got Ken's offer, I'm gonna walk over to my investor and say, their bank's ready to take this deal, it's a great deal, can you beat his offer? Because now I'm representing the seller, right? So I'm getting the seller a better offer, and he's out. So like if it's a really hot deal, you need to go directly with whoever's got it listed, and you need to, it's a good old boy network, so you're gonna need
I've
to.
put in offers before through my preferred realtor to the listing agent, and the listing agent purposely put that offer under there what was above asking price and everything like that. Now, I know they've made some changes since then to try to make that kind of funny business go away, but you know, how do you enforce something like that? So I prefer to to go directly to the source and not have to worry about that.
So yeah, you wanna buy in Livonia and there's a foreclosure, and you're working with your preferred realtor, it could be that you need to go directly to whoever's got the listing and tell them that you're buying this property to eventually resell or something, and you'll relist it with them or pay them.
Of course, anytime you approach a realtor, they're gonna look at you as any other tire kicker, because that's all they get is tire kickers. People call them up and they don't have the money to perform, so you gotta have your ducks in order to prove that you're gonna carry through on this. So the original question was preferred team. So I listed preferred realtor, preferred title company, your attorneys, and I say attorneys plural because you will need different type of attorneys for different things you have to deal with. Certainly a real estate attorney you're going to be dealing with, but if you get into this big time, you're going to get into litigation. It's just part of the game. So you're going to have to need an attorney for litigation eventually. That's nothing to be afraid of. If you're doing things right, the law usually works in your favor. So, who else? Our contractors. You got to have multiple contractors because your contractors are good today and they get busy on something else. So you got to have 3 plumbers, 3 electricians, whatever. But and the best way to get those contractors is, like Mark's saying, go to the RIA groups because they want to keep their name in that RIA group. And if you start bad mouthing them in the RIA group because they did a bad job, they're not going to like that. So hopefully they're going to do a good job for you. What other key folks? I'm sure there's more. The accountant, to keep track of everything. There's a whole list of them. I guess I think of them at the top of my head right now.
Well, you probably listed all the core ones that you use most often.
Yeah.
If you're missing 1 or 2 fringe ones, they don't occur all the time.
Yeah.
So I think you got it pretty solid.
Yeah. So you're really looking for like the attorney that all the investors don't have anything bad to say about them, or the accountant that they're all using, or that nobody's saying anything bad about, your good stuff. So I think we're like past the time. So I thank you for coming and sharing.
Sure.
So you guys, did you get some value out of tonight?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, well then we're gonna call it quits, and people are welcome to stay. But in another 30 minutes, I'm gonna throw you out. So.
By clicking the link in the description below, you can purchase the full version of this video in all the forms mentioned within, for only $7.99. Or, if you like, you can get access to all of our real estate investing videos at 27monthlymeetup.com. The cost is only $27 a month, and includes all past meetings, 3 new meetings a month, plus all the forms mentioned. Thanks for watching.